Welcome to a crypto research update video on altcoin top indicators. I'm going to keep this as brief as possible, but the strategy really all depends on identifying the Bitcoin top. And historically, almost all altcoins peaked from the same day and for a 3-week period following the Bitcoin peak. So this is our first big indicator, and you should be able to get that from the Elliott Wave Institute crypto team. Basically, they should have a good idea of when wave 5 of 5 is happening. So my aim is to offer some insights and tools to help to direct an exit strategy. So first, let's do a quick recap of 2017-2018. On average, the top 100 altcoins went up 22.4 times from the October low to the peak. The peak happened from about the 21st of December for a 3-week period into the middle of January. Of the top 100 altcoins then, 7% went up over 50 times, Stellar went up 89 times, Tron 109 times, Nano 167 times, others 125 times, 197 times, and 46 coins made less than 10 times moves. So that proves the importance of spread, as a small number of coins massively impacted the overall results. However, it's nigh on impossible to track a large number of coins on a daily basis. And if you want to use these indicators, realistically, you've either got to be full-time or that's necessary. So what we're looking for is parabolic price movement, and this is exactly what we saw with Pirate Chain a few years ago. So here's our parabola, the shape on the chart we expect to see in many cases. Another way of looking at a parabolic move is that we get bigger and bigger price movements over shorter and shorter timescales. So we have Elliott Wave theory, and a jump in price usually equals a jump in volume as well. And because we're dealing with a 5-wave sequence, the trend follows 5 waves up. So to be clear about this, that's 1 up, wave 2 is a correction down, wave 3 is up, wave 4 is a correction down, and wave 5 is up. And that's typically followed by a 3-wave counter trend move or correction. Wave A down, wave B correction back up again, and then wave C down. So this is helpful to give us a direction of the marketplace, though my feeling is that's clear at the moment. The problem is Elliott Wave is a lot more complicated than that. Nevertheless, when we see price spikes for 1, 3 and 5, we should also see spikes in volume for 1, 3 and 5. Now sometimes, this is important, we can get the volume spikes still happening but declining. In fact, they can appear randomly. So we just need to bear that in mind. What we're looking for is relative volume spikes compared to everything else that's gone previously. Now, another Elliott Wave guideline is alternation on corrections. And zigzags are short, sharp corrections versus potentially longer, more complex corrections, and they tend to alternate like this. So rules for Elliott Wave include that wave 3 is never the shortest, and the next one is that wave 2 can't retrace 100% of wave 1. Another one is that wave 4 never enters the territory of wave 1. And also waves 1, 3 and 5 are motive waves. That means they're strong, powerful waves. So they're relatively big and powerful compared to everything else. So on the chart we see that the main green candles are heading upwards and they form big waves. Then the chances are we're moving in that direction. So using something like TradingView, you can open up a free account. The problem with free accounts is you can't save your charts, and it's useful to be able to find the charts where you can get the longest price information as well. So you may need to search through the list and find the options that give you the longest trading pattern. So you either need to make a list of them. If not, you need a paid for account, and then you can save the charts. But ultimately we're aiming to identify 3 waves, and we're looking at 2 corrections of different patterns, a sharp one versus a jumbled one. And those corrections come in after wave 1, which means the correction is wave 2, and after wave 3, which means the correction is wave 4. And the next thing we're looking for is the price and volume spikes. So the big question is relative to what? So for this we need context, and that means we need to scroll the chart timescale to make the relationships over time visible. And realistically, we need something like a 6-month viewing timescale, because then the volume spikes are significant over that period. But at the same time, daily volume moves are visible on CoinMarketCap. So that's CoinMarketCap, not TradingView. And what you're seeing here is a situation where we can more or less identify 3 waves and 3 volume spikes. So those 2 pieces of information go together. And here we have pretty much an ideal situation, 3 waves and 3 volume spikes. Here's the AVAX chart. We see this big volume spike coming up saying, hey, I'm a wave start to count me. So we need to scroll through the chart to reveal prior volume spikes as required, and we need to compare them. However, the volume spikes we get later on in the cycle can be a lot bigger than the volume spikes previously in the cycle. So the previous volume spikes can just disappear. So if peak 3, wave 5 is our target, we're looking for 2 prior peaks in price and 2 prior volume spikes on the same day. And if needed, we may need to scroll back a little more. So you may see more than 2 prior volume and price spikes, and that can be confusing. But we're aiming to see the previous peaks within, say, a 6-month period as well. And this will give us an indication about a likely wave count. So here's Digibyte, and this is what a top day can look like. So for viewing these charts, first of all, you need to see the whole picture, all the time scale. Secondly, we can look at 1 year, especially for comparing volume spikes. 6 months means the daily moves become visible in volume. So the big question is, when does Bitcoin peak, as this seems to be the first critical indicator. Right, so let's have a look at these indicators. You can do this with any of the coins on the list, and it's very important to practice, because if you have some coins that are not on the list, you're going to have to do this yourself. What we've done is, first of all, when we're looking at CoinMarketCap here, it starts off on the 1-day chart. So we're going to click all first of all to see its patterns. So this is storage, and what we see is there was a launch, it quickly peaked, formed a nice sort of cup pattern as it built the market structure. It had a blow off top because it went vertical. It actually had more or less a double top, and then down it comes, cup. It's forming a handle now. So this is the all time scale. So we're starting to get a feel for some of the characteristics of this. It makes these cup shapes, and then it's got the potential to do that. So now the next thing is we're going to now start to zoom in and have a look at this stuff a little bit closer. So we're going to look at the previous market. So we'll go to more or less the market bottom, and what I'm doing is I'm just specifying the time scale by dragging this tab at the bottom, and this is CoinMarketCap that we're looking at. So I'm now going to drag the other one in, and we're going to have a look at this period running up to the main top, actually. So the first thing to be aware of is that, yeah, your top day is going to look something like this, probably, for an altcoin. And the reason is that we have this parabolic shape here, and they're small markets and all the rest of it. But the thing to note is the price movement. The second thing to note is, look, we've got this epic amount of volume coming in, and this is an interactive scale. This volume changes according to what it's trying to show here, so there's nothing at all showing for a lot of these periods. Let's have a look. Let's scroll back and have a look at that. So now we're seeing some previous peaks. So we've got a volume spike there, we've got a volume spike here. So that's 3 spikes in price, and then the final spike in price and volume that makes them pretty well disappear. So this is the first thing, is to scroll your chart, get a feel for how it operates, and remember, this is not 100% reliable, but this is really sort of classic blow off top behavior by a coin, especially by an altcoin. So now let's scroll that forward and let's have a look at what's happening today. Where are we? So what we see over a similar sort of time scale is, all right, well, we had this, little sort of structure here, and we had this day here where we had the previous peak and there was some volume, but it was declining volume compared to what happened earlier. So this can happen. You might get your peak day on declining volume, but the main thing is, compared to everything else, these features stand out. So we've got another cup forming here, and the best guess I can make is that that's probably wave 1, and then this is wave 2, quite a long complex correction. So according to the Elliott Wave principles, there's a pretty decent wave 3, which is happening now, should not be the shortest. So it means it's really got to be at least as long as this one in terms of the price hike. But it's also possible that you can have 2 of the waves of equal length. So there's a fair possibility that wave 3 might be as long as this in terms of price. So it's starting off from, not from this level here, but it's starting off from this level. So it might end up, up here somewhere for wave 3. But then because of this tendency to create a parabola, then it has what's known as an extended wave 5, which is where it rockets on the final stage. So this is a general sort of tendency amongst altcoins. So bear that in mind. We're looking for price and volume spikes. There is a possibility that this may equal, or this may equal, wave 3 may equal the final move. It's not guaranteed, but judging by what we saw in the past, what we need to look out for is going to look something like that on the final day, with a price spike and a volume spike. So that's our first set of indicators explained to you in terms of Elliott Waves, price and volume. Now we're going to look at TradingView. So here's the TradingView window. Like I said, you can get this for free. There's going to be a link under the video. The problem is you can't save it. So, you can get a subscriber account if you want. Little tip is you might be able to pay for a sort of the most basic account, and then it will invite you to upgrade it, in which case it will shorten the time of your subscription, and that may be helpful to some people at the moment. So you don't necessarily need to cough up a load of money straight away. So here we go. This is storage on TradingView, and I'm just scrolling the mouse here so we can have a look at everything. Ideally, so we're going to go back. There you go, right to the start. This is what happened last time, and the first thing is, we're not seeing any volume here. So let's turn on the volume indicator. So we're going to do that here. You can do a search in here. You can type in what you want as well. So volume now appears at the bottom underneath these bars at the bottom again. So what we're seeing is some spikes in volume there, but then don't forget we're expecting this peak to coincide pretty much with the Bitcoin peak here. So looks like that could be wave 1, 2, 3. So 2 is this long complex correction. 3, then let's zoom in. Short, quite a rapid sort of correction. And then here comes wave 5, and we've got these volume spikes happening as well. So this is the kind of thing that we're likely to see in TradingView. So let's have a look at some other indicators to see how they work. Going to turn off the volume so we can make it invisible here. Now let's have a look at the next one. extended golden ratio multiplier. So let's look at how this works. We're going to scroll back again to see that big peak in the past, and it doesn't operate over such a long period. So we have to move forward and see then what happened in the past, 2021. So first came up to the green line, next one goes to blue, then we burst through the green, and now we've got these violent moves. So the whole thing is that these are proportional. They'll be going up as the market goes up, and a break of one of these lines then becomes important. So it's a rough tool. It gives us some indication as to where we are now. So let's just do a comparison. We need to zoom right into it. So let's scroll up. So what have we seen in the past? Well, the previous moves have gone through this blue line and then into this sort of green line. That's probably what we would expect in a blow-off top, is at least it's going to go up to this line here. But in the past, it's gone through the yellow line as well, so it's gone even further. So that's also a reasonable likelihood, I would suggest, in this situation. So over the next few weeks, there might be a little uptick in these lines, but basically, because we've got about a month left possibly with this, but here's one of the possibilities, is it could go, quite easily with a couple of doubles from 0.7 bursting even through here, this sort of golden line. So that's something to bear in mind as well. That's how the extended golden ratio multiplier works. So let's turn that off. We've got the key indicator 9 close. So what's this? Let's have a look at what happened previously again. So these are your various averages. So let's have a look at what happened last time again. So it popped above this average, this average, this average. That's the last one. And it sat on top of this for a period of time. But basically, it's happened before, and it happened here as well. So if we've got an idea about which wave number this is, then that could also be very useful in terms of helping us to pick a pretty decent exit point. As you see, there's some big wicks on here as well. So this is not the top day. This is the top day, but it opened here on this particular day, Sunday 28th of March. It shot up to here, 3.86. It went down to here, and then it closed at this point. So we had a few days of indecision there that followed. But basically, in an ideal world, you'll be selling on this candle or this candle, because a number of the indicators suggest that that's a sensible thing to do. So back to comparing where we are at the moment. It's done it before. It's popped above that white moving average line. So we're above the white. Chances are we might be here for some time, but what we're not seeing is these kind of explosive moves with long candles. So the chances are we're going to get, here's a correction, we'll get another push and another correction at some stage, probably around the time that Bitcoin peaks, because it tends to have quite a short, sharp zigzag kind of thing for a few days, these altcoins, and then a big push like that. So there's plenty of room for some doubles coming in here at the moment, but this extended period over the white line is then also potentially useful, but I don't think it's as useful as the others. So Fibonacci Bollinger Bands is the next one. We're going to do exactly the same thing again. So see where we are. We're just nudging up the red line, and that's because a lot of stuff has happened in a pretty short period. So let's scroll back again. Easiest way is to do this way. Now we'll extend it again and just see what happened here, because this was another parabolic move. So it popped above the top, it had a correction, and then we've got these now impulses well above the red over a couple of days by the look of it. 2 candles. So, oh no, one, yeah, well, both, yes, this one and this one, the red one and the green one. So, yeah, that's the kind of thing that we're looking at in this situation. So, and here's our volume aligning with those moves on storage. So let's now have a look at the pitchfork. So you get this from the side menu. So let's have a look at the pitchfork. How do we use that? So this is a pretty significant move. And the idea is to click a bottom, click the next top, click the next bottom. Well, yeah, that's not ideal. This is where these things are a bit rough and ready. So, but have you noticed what I've just done? I've now made a parallel to this price action here, which is more or less parallel to this price action here. And now what have we got? We've got this popping straight out over the top. So these things can be drawn, and they need to be tested a few times and redrawn a few times probably to give you a feel for them. But that's another potentially a very powerful indicator. So what I'm suggesting is price action, volume, different indicators. Then we have the potential to put a few things together to make a pretty accurate guess about the top. Okay, so here's the final tool. This is storage again, and this is the one most people will be familiar with, which is the Fibonacci retracement tool. But we're dealing with such volatility, we should consider both of these here. So you click the tool, you click the top of the previous high. In this case, we're looking for a significant high. Then click the low, try and do it reasonably accurate, and then that should give us some ideas about key levels for this to go to. So we'll just have a quick look at how this works. So we've got some predictions now. Now it might not go to the previous peak, but obviously what we're expecting is that it may have a good chance of surpassing it, and if so, then it's very likely to be attracted to these kind of levels that you see here. So let's just and see what happened in the past. We're going to click the top, we'll try and pick the body of a candle, we'll go to the bottom. So the interesting thing to note here is look at these levels, these key sort of juncture points, which seem to be attracting these price levels. So it gives you a rough sort of prediction as to what might happen. So that's top to bottom, projects upwards for the next one. But let's shift this and let's now bear in mind the wicks as well, because this may make more sense in some circumstances. So you see what's happening here. So that's probably the most commonly used tool. So here are the last important points for a wrap up. The first thing is very important. Elliott Wave have a placeholder in place for an estimated Bitcoin top, but a top wave thrust could be truncated, so shortened, maybe due to a stock market crash or something like that. But it could also be extended, both in time and in price. So that could mean January or later. The second one is that the indicators are just guides to analysis. Putting them together helps to give us a bigger picture, and that's all. There is a risk of rolling profits from coin to coin, and if you're going to do that, then make sure the coin you're moving to has not peaked already. So I wouldn't move from one coin to another and buy a coin on a day when it's showing a major price and volume spike, because that could be the peak day and it could all be downhill from then. Another one is just avoid FOMO. If you've sold something out and you see the price overtaking it, then yeah, you might have a few more days In that case, if it overtakes the previous price, be aware of the potential risk of a double top. And if you feel that it's worth it, then go back in, maybe set a stop loss or something like that. So here's a summary of the tools. The Elliott Wave: identify the Bitcoin top as closely as possible and pay attention to this 3-week window, which seems to apply pretty regularly to the vast majority of coins. But 1 or 2 do peak early and 1 or 2 peak late as well. That's the way it goes. We've obviously noted the importance of the price and volume spikes and the fact that they're relative to previous moves. So you may need to scroll to see anything at all on the volume chart over a period of time, 6 or 12 months or whatever. We're looking for ideally some kind of a wave count or guesstimate, and we're looking for the third major wave upwards, which is wave 5. 1 up, 2 correction, 3 up, 4 correction. The 5th wave is the way that it's labelled by Elliott Wave. So when we're considering waves, consider the potential equality of 2 of the waves as well, and that wave 3 is never the shortest. And we could have a potentially extended wave 5, which is the parabolic price move. And that often happens with altcoins. Most importantly, we're using these tools to note the past characteristics, so we're comparing it against itself. We need to see how it's performed in the past. Look out for the corrections as well. There is one short, sharp, zigzag type wave for a few days. When Bitcoin peaked in the past, then often this happened around about that time with quite a large number of the altcoins. So it was often wave 4, and that was really good to set expectations that wave 5 was to come. Balanced sort of indecision, if you like. And the longer and more complex wave was often wave 2. So the tools, we've got the volume on TradingView, we've got the extended pitchfork. We need to keep redrawing that as needed. We've got the exponential moving averages, 9, 20, 150 and 200. We've got the Fibonacci Bollinger Bands, we've got the extended golden ratio, and we need to note the characteristics and compare each coin against itself. As an overview of my strategy, I'm going to attempt to roll profits from a high to a low, and that's the overall gist of this. Is once you get out of altcoins, then look for something that's still a good deal with a great deal of upside. Silver could be physical, could be tokens from Kinesis. Link follows below. Link below as well for Elliott Wave and for TradingView. Cash is a good idea if there's a deflationary crash, and I think it's on the cards pretty soon and it's going to be a really big one. You could wait for the Bitcoin bottom and then re-enter Bitcoin and then wait for the next altcoin season. Another option could be to use the Elliott Wave crypto forecasts to move to other altcoins or Bitcoin for trading moves. The main issue is to avoid losses and generally take advantage of moving from a high in one asset class to a low in another. As a final point, with respect to TradingView, if you've already got an account, when you log in you should be given an option to upgrade, and if you do that, then it needn't cost you any more money. You can have an account which enables you to save as many coins as you want, but it shortens the period instead of charging you more money immediately. So that could be a good tip for some people. It may even be a possibility that you subscribe for a basic account now, and then tomorrow you're given the opportunity to upgrade. It would shorten the period, but it would enable you to save the coins that you need to save. On a final note, this has been many hundreds, probably 1,000 or more hours of research, going through hundreds and hundreds of altcoins and looking at them in all sorts of different ways. And it's taken a lot of time and a huge amount of money, because I've had to open up accounts for Elliott Wave and for TradingView, and there have been very few contributions towards that. So the result is I've got thousands less in altcoins now than I would otherwise have had. So if you find this useful, if it works for you, then please consider a donation, and just bear in mind the value that this brings to you. I hope it helps. I'd love to hear success stories afterwards, and thank you very much for watching. Good luck.